Hey, I'm Alfio, and this is Brave Tales, where we dive into mental health, gut health, and the brave journey to healing through real stories and honest conversations. Today's guest is Samantha Lotus, a holistic health expert and a consciousness mentor who's rewriting the script on healing and personal transformation. We recorded this conversation a couple of years ago, and it's incredible how timeless and needed her message still is. From a near-death experience to decoding the matrix of mind, body, and soul, this is a powerful journey into reclaiming your life. Let's dive in. Samantha, thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
Let's just start. So you're in Sydney. You're going to fly out soon. And what have you been up to in Sydney?
Just soaking it up. Sydney, Australia specifically, is one of the places on the planet where right from the first moment I got here, I felt this intense feeling of belonging. Like right getting off the plane my first time, I was like, whoa, okay, I feel like I belong here. And people look like me here. You know, I'm not like the tallest person. I'm not this big giant walking around. And I just feel like, oh yeah. So I'm really been connecting with people, soaking it up. Had some really cool meetings with other people that are, you know, these freedom fighters, consciousness seekers. And yeah, I've been having just a great time.
That's amazing. And what has been the highlight in your trip here?
I hosted a gathering of some of the people that I've been connecting with on Instagram that had been asking me to get together, and just really, my favorite thing is connecting and collecting people. I'm just a connector and collector of amazing humans. And so getting to do that here and planting those seeds of community. One of the things I see in Australia from an outsider's point is that there are people doing amazing things. There are people leading really cool movements. I just don't see the masterminds coming together yet, where all of these leaders from across the land coming together and collaborating, co-creating. And so that's kind of what I've been doing, just cross-pollinating and propagating that.
Oh, that's so cool. That's so cool. I mean, you know, we're all energetically connected. Doesn't matter where you're from in the earth. And to hear that, it's refreshing, especially this day and age where, you know, there's been a lot of uncertainty and stress with what's been going on the last 2 years. And to hear this, it's so good, so awesome. You support so many people on their wellness journey from like different aspects. It's multi-layered, obviously, and we'll dive into that. But you had your own self-healing journey, and I understand that at 26 that you had a near-death experience. Could you share what that experience was like?
Sure. It's funny because before I had that, I thought, what quackery, near-death experiences. I was really skeptical of that. And I thought, okay, you know, you hear these stories, but how true is that? I always had one foot in the door and one foot out of the door. Like, okay, I don't know about that. But yeah, I got really sick, like really, really sick. And then it kind of progressed and it got really worse. And then I was bedridden for a while, and I was like seeing different therapists and trying different therapies, and I was studying to be a naturopath at the time, luckily, but I don't know what was happening, but the one day I was really, really sick, and I started to have it felt like lightning going through what is my liver, right? Like under the right rib cage, just this lightning going through, and I started getting clammy and extremely cold. My whole body was just shutting down. My breath, my heartbeat was so slow, and I just laid down in bed, and I was like, oh, I'm dying. Like, I think I'm dying. So I get out Dr. Google and start Googling, like, am I dying? And I put all the symptoms, and it's like, oh yeah, that could be like when you're dying. So I called my best friend. I'm like, Steph, I think I'm dying. And I didn't want to call my family because I was afraid to scare them in case I wasn't dying. But anyway, so I called the ambulance and just told them what was happening. I was kind of laughing too, like, I'm not sure, but I think I'm dying. So please help me. And then I laid there and just was in so much pain, and I was shaking and just collapsing inwards. And all of a sudden I just heard my voice, or a voice that felt or sounded like my voice, but it was outside of me. It felt like it was coming from the ceiling. You know, I was laying in bed, and it just hit me and pierced right through me, saying like, all I remember hearing was like, Samantha, like, you asked for this, like, you wanted this. You wanted it all to stop. You wanted, you wanted to die. Like, so here's the option. You want it all to end and you can choose that. Or do you want to live? But you have to make some big changes in your life. And like, what do you choose? The timelines are there. The paths are there. What do you choose? And it was like screaming at me. And I got to really feel that and be like, oh yeah, I did create this. I did want this. And then all this like feeling flooded, you know, when you get scared, you're like the feeling like the blood drops out of your body and then it starts to come back in and you get flushed with heat. I could feel that feeling. And then I panicked. I was like, I can't die. There's so much I need to do. I don't want to die. I was almost pleading with myself. And I did plead with myself or higher self, God's self. I don't know how to describe it fully, but I was just, okay, I made really strong agreements. Like, I'm going to live. I'm going to cut out all the toxicity. I'm going to stop doing all the things that are negative. I'm going to stop harming myself. I'm going to eat right and have better relationships. And then I have a purpose on this planet. Like, I have a message to share and I'm going to do that. And my health started to change and my life changed drastically. I changed every aspect of my life. And yeah, that was a big pivotal moment for me.
So powerful, you know, and the big take from that is like you had that experience and that gave you the awareness, right? Because that's where it all starts.
Yeah.
And with that, I understand with your approach to how you support people, I love how you use the alchemy analogy. Could you just elaborate on that? Because I just think it's really cool.
Yeah. So on a surface level, alchemy seemed like it was taking base metals and melting it down, right? And then like essentially turning it into gold or creating something new. And so the 3 phases of alchemy, one is the awareness. You have to have an awareness of something. The second one is the melting it down or the deterioration, the dying. It's like the phoenix. It has to die. And then from that, something new gets to be reborn. And that's really the way that I work with anyone. It's what is actually happening. Let's peel the veil off. Like, what is the root of actually what is going on? And then how can we break it down, or what I like to say, like decondition, pull apart the layers and get to the core, like the true core. And then from that true core, which I believe is a person's essence, like who are they? What is their truth? What is their soul? Like why are they here on this planet now? And then who do they want to be? Like, how do they want to show up? And then we re-architect or rebuild or alchemize their truest self. And then we build their life and their habits and everything around the emanation of their true self, or like the gold that is their soul.
Oh, that's so cool. And like, you know, in that process, I would imagine, because I think we've all been guilty of this, I myself, where we have these voices in our head that tell us we're not good enough. But obviously there are ways that you could navigate through that. So how do we navigate through those negative thoughts?
Mm-hmm. There are different ways, I feel, and depends on the person. But one of them is you could either see that, like the way I like to see it, the way I do it is to see them as like negative thought forms or thought viruses, okay, or like shadow programs that are kind of not really in us or a part of us, but that are actually from outside, that are like trying to get in to keep us small and hold us down. So I see those as programs or codes or viruses that are not a part of me. So I don't ever say like my negative thoughts. I say, oh, there are negative thoughts that are trying to hold me down. So I really see them as outside of me, which allows me to put up like a firewall. Like I like see myself as a computer a lot. I'm like, okay, so I antivirus the thoughts, put up a firewall, put up a protection, like come back to my truth, reprogram what I want to believe. So I really use this computer analogy a lot. Because on a side note, I think we're probably a simulation. But back to this question. Then the other way, so that's for me because I'm in a different place. But when I'm first working with somebody, I get to like, are those your voices? Or does that sound like your mom's? Or does that sound like your dad's? Or does your mom also not believe in herself? Okay, so is this ancestral? Who's the first person that ever said you couldn't do that? And I bring people through maybe a meditative state and like, oh yeah, when I was in grade 5, my teacher told me I was stupid and I would never accomplish anything. Okay, great. So we pull out that virus or program or code, and I get people to see that like everything negative is not the truth. It's just something that was put into you, programmed into you, a virus, unlimiting belief, a shadow. Sometimes I even go, especially if I'm working with Christians, I'll go into like, that's the devil, like the devil frequency, which I believe is a shadow frequency, like keeping you from the godliness and the truth. So I think it's good to use whatever frameworks like help or work with you. Some people use affirmations or mindset, but essentially just recognizing or asking a question like, does this feel good for me? And does this feel true for me? And is this helping me get to where I want to go? And that's why I really believe it's important for people to know who they are and what their vision and where they're going is, so that anything that comes into their life, it's a simple question. Is this nourishing me on the path to where I want to go? If no, bye-bye. And find a way to block it out, push it out, or really have strong boundaries with those kind of things.
Yeah, 1,000%. And, it comes down to, I personally ask myself about when I'm about to decide on something or take on a particular task, I go, is this coming from a place of love or is it coming from a place of fear?
Yes, exactly.
Do you obviously find that in the people that you support?
Yeah, I love that you brought this up. This is something I say all the time. So I love hearing it from you. There are only two choices. Nothing is neutral. Everything is either positive or negative, love or fear-based, right? And you can feel it viscerally in your body. Like, okay, this decision I'm about to make, is this coming from love, like the truth, God, essence, positive, or is this coming from fear of pain? So it's like the double negative, and you can start to feel the subtle energies. When you tune in, like, oh yeah, this is coming from fear. It's always the wrong decision if it's coming from fear, because it's a negatively charged decision, which will only create more negative experiences. So that's one of the greatest tools. If you can tune in, love or fear, nourishing, or expansive or contractive, you'll be so good. That's really tuning into the energetics of things.
Of course. And like you mentioned, you're going down to the core of who you are and establishing your true values and what you're here, what your purpose is, right? Which is, I believe, probably so many people don't realize, because we all live busy lives and we've got so much going on, and we don't stop to just take a moment and reflect and go, okay, who am I and what is my why?
Yeah. And I believe that's by design. I believe that we are put into boxes and conditioned and socialized and kept busy and kept confined to little cubicles and little desks and little thoughts and little boxes. Everything's in these little boxes. And we've been taught to always have your mind busy or distracted, right? That's why Netflix and binge culture is so big. And people don't take the time to just stop and be still, because that's so uncomfortable, because we've never been taught that. And so I do believe that the easiest way to control people and condition people is to keep them slaves, and tuned outwards and not tuned inwards ever. And I think that that's something that is changing a lot, actually, which is really great. But you really tapped into something. One of the most powerful thing a person can do is just pause for a moment and create some silence and stillness, and take away the phones and the screens and the distractions, and just tune in. Hey, who am I? What do I want to do here? What do I want my life to be? What art can I create with this canvas I've been given?
It's the old saying, count to 10, right? Before you just jump to something without really thinking it through. And again, coming from a place of fear, we all have the capacity to do great things, don't we? So on that note, you mentioned about that whole conditioning thing, and we're just always in this bubble and we're just going on and on and on. What are some tools, I guess, to break away from that?
To break away from the busyness?
Yeah, the busyness and that whole just being in a rush and having going back to those negative thoughts and really just being present.
Yeah. One thing I love about how things become trendy is actually that although it's only really popular because it's trendy, it actually does kind of infiltrate and bring some good to it. And I love the yoga movement. I know it's not new now, but a lot of people do yoga, and it's like a subtle gateway into the consciousness space, because it actually does get you to be in your body and to be present. So I really love yoga. I love that meditation is bigger, even just going out and making time to go out into nature. I think especially say people living in Sydney or in any big cities, we're so surrounded by concrete all the time and Wi-Fi in every building, so many Wi-Fis in every building, that it really the harmonics of our energy is chaotic rather than still. It's chaotic because of all of the busyness. And so putting yourself in spaces that are calm, Breathing, like taking space, right? Because when everything is busy, everything's so compressed. It's really quick and compressed. And as humans, we've become so stressed and compressed. And I think creating more space, even just by breathing and taking up more space in our bodies, and then creating some space in our life where we don't have distractions and we can go out into nature and we can be still, we can be with our mind, we can tune out the outside world and take more time to tune into the inside world. I would say any way that you do that will be really beneficial.
And there is some truth to, tree hugging and there's also, and then grounding, of course, like, walking barefoot, just immersing yourself to nature.
Yeah, that's so funny. People think, and I thought too, everyone thinks like, oh, I'm on Earth. Like I want to go out into nature. And the really profound realization is like, well, you are actually nature. Like you are nature, and you are not just on this earth, you are of this earth. And so taking that time to like reconnect. Yeah. When were your feet last on the grass? When did you have a waterfall pouring on your head? When were you immersed with the trees? Like breathing in, as it's so profound when you're with trees, you're like, oh wow, I'm breathing in their air and they're breathing in my air. And we're just exchanging air, me and the trees. And like, that is the interconnection that we have on this planet. And I think people kind of forget that. The water that we drink, that's nature. The food that we eat, that's nature. The air that we breathe, the sun, it's all nature. And the more exposure that we can have and the connection that we can have, especially with like our bodies right in it and on it, the better it is for every aspect of our being.
So true. Everything we need has been provided by Mother Nature, as they say.
Yeah.
And I think it's so easy just to forget that. And to do the simple things like, breathe in the air and acknowledge the nature, the sounds of birds and the wind and just stuff that I guess we take for granted, don't we?
Totally. And I think that's by design too, right? That's by design too. So
now I love how a part of your approach, we talk about co-creators, that we all co-creators. I love that because I'm sure the listeners and viewers believe that, we're all connected energetically, and we're all on this earth to connect with one another. Like with that whole idea of being co-creators, like how can we have a more powerful mindset so then we have more powerful experiences?
Yeah, let's go back to alchemy. So step one, what's going on in your mind? That's the first thing I like to ask people. And so I bring people through something called old story, new story. So the activity is write out all the old stories about yourself and about life in general. And I'll get them to do like maybe even 20, 30, just like the top ones that are like, essentially the frames that you have about, okay, well, this world isn't fair to women. I'm not beautiful enough to be successful. Oh, well, I'll never be successful in my podcast because I don't have 1 million followers. Oh, any of those thoughts that are like the main thoughts that we start to think, oh, I'm fat, I'm too old, I'm this, I'm that. And like painting a picture of the way that we see the world. Oh, the world's not fair. It's bad. It's controlled. It's this, it's that. And then on the other page, writing out the news stories like that are going to be essentially the codes or the programs or the architecture and the mind architecture that you then create for your life. So whatever you want to be true, studies have shown that if you start to program it into your mind using mind power and affirmations and visualizations and embodiment, that it actually starts to show, because so within, so without. So I believe that one of the most powerful things is really being an investigator of all the thoughts that go through your mind. Every time. Say you stub a toe. Oh, I'm so stupid. Why am I so clumsy? Wow, that's a thought. Like you're programming, you believe that you're stupid, you're clumsy. So really being an investigator of every single thought that goes through your mind and start to attune them to being positive. Start to attune them to what it is that you want. So having a mental fortitude where this is like a fortress and nothing can get in. None of those negative thought viruses, none of the news, none of anything that's external to you can affect you without coming through your your antivirus software that essentially you have up. And I think that mind power is one of the most important things. And then also like that's more on the energetic mental level, but also on a physical level, right? Like if you are popping Xanax and drinking beers every day and never in nature and fully with Wi-Fi, drinking tap water, which has so much fluoride, and brushing your teeth with fluoride toothpaste and like calcifying your pineal gland and not eating properly definitely affects all of your neurochemicals, which are synthesized mostly in your gut. So I think if your brain is not physically getting enough minerals and vitamins and nutrients and sunlight and nature, and if it's so junked up with all of the chemicals like shampoos and conditioners and soaps and every fragrances, if you are toxic, like your signaling station, your brain is not going to function properly. So I don't care how much people are like, well, I think positive all the time. I do mind power all the time. If your physical vessel is full of chemicals and toxins, you are not functioning properly. So I always tell people, like, clear out your temple. So that's the second part of alchemy, right? Once you're aware of all the shit, clear it out, flush it out. So I really believe in detox, but not like the trendy, like, let's detox your body and lose the 5 pounds of
Eat
fat.
nothing and just
eat
drink.
nothing. That's the diet of the year. Like, no, you need to eat good foods. But like really, so flush it all out, melt it all down, burn it to nothing, right? And then the rebuilding phase. So I really do believe that there's a physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual component to having like true human optimization. And it's all connected. You can't be successful. I don't believe you can truly be successful in one area if you're completely like devastated in the other. It's an ecosystem and it's all interconnected.
Which is why, what you do in terms of the way you support people, it's very multi-layered. We're not looking at just the mindset. We got to look at the physical. We got to look at the past traumas and everything that I guess would contribute to where you are in your life, and that's not serving you well, right?
That's it. And this is what my biggest bone to pick with. No, that's not the biggest. It's one of the bones to pick with the medical industry. I believe that specialization has been the deterioration of true health, right? Like, if I've had so many health issues, so I've been to all the specialists. I go into a gut specialist and they don't know about the connection between anxiety and the gut. I'm like, what do you mean you don't know about that? Or, I had thyroid issues. Okay, well, nobody asked me about the stress levels or my diet. Well, just your thyroid hormones are low. Let's put you on Synthroid. I'm like, okay, for how long? Well, for the rest of your life. It's like, what? I'm 16. I have to take this drug for the rest of my life? Nobody asks about that. Now, psychologists in your office, tell me about your problems. They don't ask that you're pounding back McDonald's every single day and you can't synthesize neurochemicals. Like, specialization has destroyed, because we are a holistic ecosystem and we need to look at all of the parts, all of the pieces of the puzzle.
That's so true. I mean, that's such a narrow approach. Because we like you said, we've got so many different things, aspects in life that are so connected. You help many people when it comes to nutrition. Yeah. We've been talking about mindset and mental health, and also the fact that we can't just look at one aspect in terms of health and ignore the other things, right? So I would love it if you can share with us when it comes, like, what are some, I guess, tips when it comes to nutrition to help with mental health? Because I believe a lot of people think they're not connected and it's just like, oh, I'm just in a bad mood, right? Yeah.
That's a good one. I think first thing is that nutrition is not just the food that you put into your body. It's really everything. Everything is, you're consuming everything. The products that you put on your skin absorbs and you're consuming that. I work a lot with plant medicines and essential oils, herbal medicines. So like, even if you're getting like, I don't know if you guys have Walmart here, but really low quality essential oils and you're breathing them in. Oh, well, I'm just breathing them in. No, that's going into your brain. You are consuming that. When you take a shower and you're putting your like Dove conditioner in your hair in the hot shower where all your pores are open, you're consuming that, right? So I think we have to see the big picture again. But essentially for diet, for actually foods and nutrition, one of the things that most people are missing are minerals. Now, our soil is so depleted in minerals, so is our water, right? Like we flash, like we just kill our water. Tap water is just one of the worst things ever, unless you maybe live in Iceland. But most people are so depleted in minerals. So replenishing your minerals I take mineral drops every single morning in my water with a little bit of coconut water, a little bit of orange juice, a little bit of sea salt, and I make these like really nourishing mineral cocktails. And that's something that every human needs alongside magnesium. Right? Magnesium is the master mineral and most people don't get it at all. And every single relaxation in the body requires magnesium, where every flexion of the body requires calcium. So for your body to really work and have all of its signals being sent properly, we need minerals and especially magnesium. So even just supplementing with that, I believe that's probably what every human needs right now, because we aren't getting it from food and our body doesn't create our own. Apart from that, I would say nutrient-dense foods. And this is a hot topic that I get debated on a lot. I believe in eating animal products. I do believe that like grass-fed, organic, free-range animals are the most nutrient-dense foods. Things like organic free-range eggs, for instance, are very high nutrient-dense. They're grounding, they're rooting, they have very bioavailable nutrition to them. Root vegetables, like really grounding, nourishing, getting a lot of fruits. Fruits are extremely healthy for us. They create just so much goodness in our body. I think, there's a big vegan debate, and I actually, what I've seen, and myself as well, is a lot of people that are on a more plant-based or vegan diet. Maybe they're not doing it right, or maybe they are, I'm not sure. But what I've seen is a lot of anxiety and mineral deficiency and protein deficiency that happens with that, a lot of gut inflammation. A lot of our grains and beans and legumes and nuts and seeds make up the primary sources of like more vegetarian or plant-based diet. And most of those foods are pro-inflammatory and they're irritating to the gut. So a lot of people have this inflammation, this chronic inflammation stemming from what they're eating, which is really deteriorating the neurochemicals synthesized in the gut that's sent up to the brain through the neuroendocrine system. And they're not getting enough of those chemicals to make their brain function properly. So I think that, really looking at the foods that we're eating. The other thing I'll have to throw in here is seed oils. There are seed oils in everything. And if people don't know what a seed oil is, it's vegetable oils like canola, vegetable, sunflower, safflower. I think those are the main ones that they use. And they're in or soybean oil, every single food that you look at that's in a package, even the organic ones, everything has these seed oils in them. Everywhere you go, any fried food is just being refried in these seed oils. They're in every single freaking thing. And they're very, very inflammatory. So when we are eating things every single day that have these seed oils and these grains and the unprocessed nuts and dairy that's pasteurized and all of this stuff and all of the things that have all these PUFAs and inflammatory fats in them, well, it oxidizes our cells and it creates inflammation all over, not just in the gut, it's all over. So we're all chronically inflamed, and that has a huge effect on everything. And I believe that there's a huge connection to why most people have some kind of chronic degenerative disease or some kind of chronic health issue that's happening.
Yeah. And people wonder why so many people get sick.
Yeah.
And why, you look at I've been observing a lot lately in the last few weeks and months. And one thing I notice that people that I can see that are probably past 60, 70, it's almost like it's like a default thing. Well, they're old. They're kind of meant to be walking slower. And I don't know, as time goes on, I don't believe that. I believe, and look, I'm no expert, but based on learning about seed oils and learning about, certain foods that are highly inflammatory, would you agree that that's another thing by design that we've been kind of conditioned to think, well, once you get to 70, 80, your quality of life is pretty much meant to be quite low. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's bullshit.
Thank you.
We need to stop normalizing. There's so many things we need to stop normalizing, and that is one. Right? Like, oh, well, yeah, you just get old and you get sick and your body deteriorates and you take a ton of pharmaceuticals and then you die a painful, chemo-induced death. And that's just life. Welcome to Earth. It's like, no, that is not just life at all. And in fact, there are many cultures that don't live that way. I think it's like a very Western way that we are. But now with the Western diet spreading everywhere, it is become more normalized. But absolutely, I don't think that is what's meant to happen at all. But when you look at the way that we live in this modern life that has been, the modern life, since the 40s, I guess? It's been almost 100 years. We've just come to accept that that's the way it is. But I don't think that that's the way it needs to be at all.
You can still kick a ball around when you're 90 years old. It's possible, which I intend to do with my daughters.
Good. I love that.
Going back to... you mentioned about how important it is to consume animal products. There's this big debate about veganism and plant-based diets. And look, this is, you're someone who has tried those diets or way of living or eating. You've done the vegan diet. You've done you've been a vegetarian before. So I guess my question would be, what would be my question? Is there a right way of being a vegan? Is there a right way of being a vegetarian? And if so, what does that look like?
Yeah, so I never like to talk in absolutes, and I just contradicted myself. I try my best not to talk in absolutes because I don't believe that there are many absolutes. I do know a few people that say that they've been plant-based for a long time and that they're really, really healthy. Most of them live in Costa Rica, which I think has an effect, right? Like they're in the ocean every day, they're in the jungle, they're growing their own food. I think that, and they really believe in it, and like they're living a very Zen monk type of life. And I think, yeah, you probably can be healthy. I'm sure it's possible. I don't know that it's possible in the modern world, like with regular people living the way they are, especially women in their reproductive years. I have not seen it. Now, I tried my darn best. I really believed all of the vegan propaganda. I watched all the documentaries. Like I was really hardcore. This is how I started. It was like Real Life But Better was my company and it's vegan, and I was all in. Okay. I really wanted it to be the thing. And what I saw was my health just kept getting worse and worse and worse after the first few years. Because I went from being a teenager that just pounded back McDonald's, burgers, fries, like junk food, fried food, and that's it. You know, I would drink like a Mountain Dew and eat a Snickers bar before my rugby games. Like that's what my diet was. And so when I switched to vegetarian vegan, I was feeling great. I was eating vegetables and fruits, and like I actually got better. I lost weight. My skin cleared up. I felt great. And then a few years later, I lost my menstrual cycle and my hair started falling out, and I started to have hormone issues and crazy gut issues. I was bloated all the time, and I became anemic. So I went to see some functional medicine specialists. They were like, hey, you need meat. Like, let's get you some meat. I started eating meat again. I felt great. But then I thought, well, maybe I didn't do it right. So I think like if you are going to be plant-based, I think, you know, make sure that you're sprouting your grains and your seeds and it's all organic, and, you know, you're like not consuming all sorts of like nut butters just as your main protein source, or all sorts of beans, legumes, like getting actual protein sources. But I don't know that there are vegan sources that are fully complete in the way, or nutrient dense in the way that animal ones are. So I personally haven't seen it. So I wouldn't be the one to advise on that. But what I would say is to listen to your body. Like if you are on the plant-based diet and your body's starting to scream at you, right? First it whispers, then it yells, then it shrieks. Then I would say like explore what that could be. And I think what I really struggled with was the ethical side. Like, am I a murderer for eating animals? Like, you know, am I contributing to global warming? Is it like all the cows that are farting that are making our world like go into climate change? Like, am I contributing to that? You know, I really asked all those questions. And I had to find my own answers into like what is moralistically right versus wrong, and like the philosophical debate. And I went into every ancient text and was like reading the Bible, like, okay, well, the Bible says it. I went deep into this, and my answers really came through in a plant medicine journey where I asked like the spirits of the animals. And for anyone that doesn't do plant medicine, this sounds crazy, but I really asked, like, show me what I'm meant to eat and what's right for me to eat. And I felt like I got the blessings of the animals. And it was clear to me that as long as I consume the animal flesh with love and reverence, with gratitude, and I do good with the energy from their life force, that it's okay. And it actually is the cycle of life. It's the way that our earth was created to be, in these cycles of recycling and utilizing energy and sharing energy. But it took me a long time to get to that place. And so I always feel for people, like, you have to learn what's right for you. Yeah.
Yeah. There can't be like one rule for everybody.
No, we're all genetically different too. Like, just look in Asia, for instance, they never drank milk ever. It's like milk is not a thing. So dairy products are not a thing in Asia, which is why most Asian people don't have the enzymes to digest dairy. Where if somebody who has a like European background, right? I'm 99% Northern European. Well, like we for generations is like milk, you know, meat, potatoes, that's pretty much it. And so in my blood, and I'm O negative blood type, like that blood type is very much eating meat. And so I do think that there's so much more to play than just like what your brain tells you is right or wrong. There's also a biological and genetic component too.
Because you mentioned, I remember there was a post recently you spoke about genetical nutrition.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I thought that was amazing. So I guess, you know, you talk about genetics and how through the years and through generations, we've been, what's the word? We've not been used to have a particular type of food, and how would you how would you explain genetical nutrition?
Yeah, so our genes genes is a whole topic, but our genes are like essentially like a little blueprint, right? And they're not total. They can change. We have our genetic structure, but then our genes can be turned on or turned off, right? So the study of epigenetics comes in, which is so freaking cool. And I love it. I think that is the future, is epigenetics paired with all of the metaphysics and whatnot. But essentially, if you're from a place where they only ate something for generations and generations and generations, it's like the building blocks, the puzzle pieces come together. Your genetic sequencing is like, oh yes, this fat makes sense to me. I read this code. It makes sense. Now, say somebody comes up to you and starts speaking Chinese to you. Your brain is like, well, I don't interpret this. I don't know what this means. Just like I believe if we start eating all these foods from all these other places that we never were introduced to, or our genetics were never introduced to, that our genetics could be like, oh, this doesn't make sense. It's like some people, they can't convert certain things, or some people work better on unsaturated fats versus saturated fats, or, I think it's just such a complex thing when it comes down to it. It's hard to describe, but I do feel that we are a byproduct. There's sociology too. We're a byproduct of our environments, and we get to take that into consideration too, like what has been local and seasonal and ancestral for us.
And that's what epigenetics is. Like, we're a byproduct of our environment and the behaviors we're exposed to.
Yeah, epigenetics is how our genes, how our cells respond and change based on our external and internal environment. And two of the forefathers that I really love are Dr. Bruce Lipton and Dr. Joe Dispenza. Right? People come into his meditations having like really chronic degenerative diseases, and through the work that they do with meditation and bringing to the quantum space and like tuning into different timelines and possibilities, they walk out of there no illness. How do you explain that? Right? Well, genetics say that you're going to die of this disease because everyone else in your family, you're just going to be bald because your dad and mom are bald, and you're just going to have diabetes because your dad and mom had diabetes. That's not true at all. That lays a foundation. Yet what you do is so much more important to turning on or off those genes than what you were given at birth. And so it's really like coming back to ultimate co-creator, or that you're the creator. Just because you were given a deck or cards doesn't mean those are the cards that you're going to have to play. Like you can do so much with that, and that you are not a prisoner to your genetics. That's something that's really important. And don't just normalize it, right? Well, everyone in my family has diabetes, so it doesn't matter what I eat. I'm just going to get diabetes anyways, right? Victimhood. Okay, well then they get diabetes.
Yeah.
But that's not your fate. You're not, your fate is really what you choose.
1,000%. My father, may he rest in peace, he had diabetes, heart condition, Parkinson's, you name it. He had it all. And I could have gone down that road and say to myself, well, I'll probably go down that similar pathway, and, I'll just have a few sweets here and there and not really think about the amount of refined sugar I'm having. But I came to a point where, no, I'm going to create my own reality, and I'm going to think about, be conscious about my nutrition. Because like I said, by the time I'm 80, 90, I would like to still run around and be playful with my girls, my daughters.
Yeah, absolutely.
So there's so much power in that, like just creating, being in control, not being a slave to the external, but really focusing on the internal, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's like, I think about this with, say, my dad, who, bless him, is probably one of the most unhealthy people I've ever met. And I've seen this my whole life, like really, like raw hot dogs on white bread with mayonnaise, like that. We grew up on that. Like that was not because of poverty either, just because of preference. And it was like, there's, I see this more in men. It's almost like a giving up, like, well, it's just, I don't want to get old anyways. I'd rather just die young, or like, oh, who cares? No, I'm just going to do this anyways. It's like this rebelling against taking care of themselves. And I see this a lot, and I believe it's truly rooted in a lot of pain and like childhood trauma and just like a giving up or rebellion. It's almost like punishing others by punishing themselves, or neglecting, like deep self-neglect. And so this is another piece where it's really hard to just tell somebody who's living that life, going down the cancer route of like, well, just eat healthy. And because we haven't gotten to the emotional and the mental aspects of like why they're so abandoning themselves. Like, what is that root? So that's where it comes back to this holistic piece of there's just so many more pieces at play there. And my message truly is like, you get to choose, you are that co-creator of your own reality, and nothing is dictated to you. You are not a victim at all. You're not a victim of your circumstance. You're not a victim of your genetics. You're not a victim of your doctor's prognosis. Definitely not. And it's like, you get to really take a good hard look at your life and see that it's a reflection of you. And now what do you want to do about it? Like really telling people that the power has always been and it will always be theirs. You can't control what you were given or your circumstance, but you can control what you do with it. Take that 10-second breath and decide how you're going to respond to your life. And what else is more worth it than that, right? And like, that's this message that I want to just shake into people. It's like, you have the power, like do something, make your life the way you want to. Everything is available to you. And yeah, it's freaking hard. It is freaking hard, but it's even harder when you're getting your organs chopped out and you're getting blasted with chemotherapy, and then you're on your deathbed at 50 watching your kids mourn as you're dying. Like, that is hard. So everything is freaking hard in life, right? So you're going to do the hard things that make you happy and healthy and free, or are you going to do the hard things that make you sick and struggle and live in pain? Like, the choice is fully yours.
Eating well and making sure that you're healthy doesn't have to be a burden. Like, it can be fun, right? It can be delicious. Like, there are so many like delicious and fun ways that we could make our meals and opt for something that is better for our soul, better for our body, but it doesn't have to be bland, right?
Exactly. It just does take everything. Energy is always moving in a direction. And so say someone in the cancer path, it's like normally their energy is in like a negative spiral and everything's hard, and you're in programs and patterns and they're playing out. And so, yeah, it does take some time and effort to turn that, like to start making those positive changes. So I like to tell people like one thing at a time. And you have to make it fun. You have to make it interesting. You have to make it easier for yourself. And so how can you start to add in, instead of like taking out, how can you add in a few things, maybe one at a time, that can start to make a little bit of a difference? Maybe it's just starting your day off with lemon water. Maybe it's just, instead of drinking 10 sodas a day, you break it down to 5 sodas a day and add in more water. Maybe instead of like going out to McDonald's every morning, maybe you take one day a week to just prep out some like healthier options for yourself that you can do. It's just like little by little. Maybe you can forgive that one person in your life that you've never been able to forgive. Maybe you could just forgive that one person. Like, what are these little things that you can start to do to make it more accessible and not so overwhelming and such a big change for people?
Yeah, because, resentment and stress and all these like negative thoughts, they lead to disease, don't they? And people don't think about that.
Yeah. I believe that those are the energetic undertones of what makes people do the things they do, why they abuse themselves, why they neglect themselves, why they abandon themselves. And we do that through food and alcohol and all of the different things. We use those things to either harm ourselves or to nourish ourselves. And so I believe it's all the underpinnings, the energetic and mental underpinnings.
So powerful, so powerful. We have the power. We are all co-creators. We can create our own reality. It's all there. It's all accessible. And everyone, I think you would agree that once you establish your why, your inner purpose, as along with all the other things that come with healing, then everything becomes a lot clearer, doesn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, because you have a guiding light and then everything aligns with it. And it depends on your personality type, right? There are different personality types. Some people need to take it really slow, and that's okay. One step at a time. Other people are balls to the wall. They're all in. They're like, I'm destroying this. I'm like that. I'm like, I'm burning my entire life down and I'm starting fresh. Boom, all at once.
Yeah.
And find what works for you, right? You just got to find what works for you.
Of course, everyone's different.
Yeah.
Now, before we wrap it up, just a couple of things.
Yeah.
I thought I'm going to test you on your Aussie lingo.
Oh, in the Avo.
That's good, actually.
Yeah.
Well, that was one of the questions. What is afternoon in slang?
It's Avo. I know that.
So what else have you learned? Because maybe you've already covered it.
An Avo,
yeah.
thongs, sunnies.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That's two. That's two out of like 15.
Okay, give me some other ones.
All right,
I'll learn.
Breakfast. What's
Brekkie?
Oh my God, good stuff. This might be a hard one. Cobber.
Cobber. Educate me.
A good friend.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like,
Me and my
g'day, Cobber.
Good at Cobber.
Yeah,
I like
that's it.
Okay.
Crikey.
Oh, I know that one. Yeah. Blimey.
Yeah. What's the word that we use? Because everything's shortened in Australia.
That.
Yeah,
I love it.
We're very lazy, as you gathered.
Efficient.
Yeah, efficient. That's a good way to put it. Definitely. What's our shortened version of definitely?
Defo.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
What's grouse?
Grouse? Like a really weird way to say gross? It's grouse.
Really good. Something that's really good. That's grouse.
Oh.
Yeah.
Not down with that
You
one.
got afternoon. That was good. Brolly. What's brolly?
Going drinking. Going out for a brawly.
Close enough. Umbrella.
Oh.
You got the thongs. Flano.
Like a shirt, flannel shirt.
Yeah.
I come from the country of the lumberjacks.
Yeah, of course.
In Canada.
Good old lumberjacks that got the beanie and big beards and one last one, Straya.
Oh, I love being in Australia.
That's it, you got it.
I love it.
Awesome.
I did pretty well.
You did very well. I'm very impressed. I'd like to ask you, Samantha, what does it mean for you to be brave?
To be brave. To be irreverently yourself. Like fully. What does that mean to be 100% yourself? Like to show yourself what you think, how you feel, to express, to let what's the magic and the joy and the weirdness, that's the wonderfulness that's on the inside, like to put that out, to let yourself be fully seen and expressed. I feel like even when it's freaking hard, even when the rest of the world is telling you that you're a quack and you're crazy and you're whatever, it's like, no, I don't care about that. Like I am going to be true to myself and really irreverently shine as who I am. I believe that that's being brave.
Love it.
What do you think being brave is?
Being brave is, like what you said, being your authentic self. And even though it means going down the hard road, you're going to stick to your guns. So, yeah.
I love that.
Thank you so much, Samantha, again, for being with us and sharing your knowledge, your experiences. It means the world. You're doing such amazing work to support so many people and souls. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's been such an honor and a pleasure. And I'd love to do this again. I'm going to try to import myself to Australia. Have some more
awesome,
Avos in the Avo, mate.
Love it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for tuning into this powerful episode with Samantha Lotus. If today's conversation sparked a shift in your perspective, that's the point. Remember, true healing starts with remembering who you really are. Until next time, be brave.